Hello everybody! Welcome back to Engineering Graphics. As a note, I usually have my arms up in the air when I do this in the classroom, but I'm sitting at my desk. It has to be a bit different. So last time we were really working on the Boss base extrude, learning how to make a 2D shape turn into a 3D shape, going from the flat to three-dimensional. Now there's a whole lot of buttons over there in that section, but instead of continuing kind of like left to right like I usually do, I'm actually going to be jumping over to a new concept, which is to cut material away. So Boss base extrude, as well as the buttons that are right around it, they all add material. They add material in a particular direction, along a particular path, lots of different ways they can do it. But now we're going to take away material, because adding material and cutting material are honestly how you make any particular shape. With these two things, you can do a massive amount. And then because you have both additive and subtractive methods that are very, very similar, we'll just do both of them together as we go along. So let's jump right to it. Now, with that in mind, we have to create something. I'm going to create something really basic to begin doing this with. So what is it going to be? I'm going to make a box. Okay, I got a box. Here we go. And I'm going to extrude it because I need to have a three-dimensional box before I can take anything away. I can't cut anything if I don't have anything to cut off. Now that I have this box, you already know that you can sketch on any particular surface you want. I can do it on the top, I can do it on the right, the front, the back, the left, the bottom, whatever I want. I'm going to do it on the top right now because it's easy to see. And I'm going to make a circle. And this is where I begin to have the ability to use my Extruded Cut tool. So Extruded Boss base, I take a shape, I stretch it into a 3D shape. Extruded Cut, I take a shape and I cut it through another shape. I make a hole. And it doesn't have to be all the way through. It can be part of the way through. It can be anything you want. Now what a lot of students have trouble with is they say like, oh, I want to make a hole through this. They go to Extrude Boss base and they'll see something like the following. They're like, okay, good, that's going to make a hole for me because it's pushing down into it. And if I make sure the dimensions are correct. Okay, like I should see a hole. It should be fine. It should work good. The green checkbox and nothing happens. And they're thinking, oh, it malfunctioned. There's an issue in SOLIDWORKS. The issue is that SOLIDWORKS is magic, and it just made more material in the same place. Like you just overlapped material. So you don't see anything because it just filled in a gap that wasn't there. So we don't want to do that. If you want to cut material, you need to go to the cut options. We're going to take it away. And so I'm going to go here and edit my sketch, and I'm going to go to features. And this is the button we're dealing with right now. It's Extruded Cut. So I click on it, and it will look exactly the same to you. I mean, like it's still the yellow circle, still the yellow guy going down here. And it seems all fine. Like, okay, is there any difference? There is. Another thing is that you have all the same options you had before for Extrude Boss base. I can draft it where it gets smaller as I go, or gets bigger as I go. Oops, sorry. One or the other. I can make it go through all, which is honestly, this is the one I use the most when it comes to cut tools, because a lot of times I want it to go through everything. I don't have to worry about like, is it 10 inches, is it 11 inches? I can just say go through everything, and even if I change this dimension right here, it will still be going through everything. It'll still cut through all of it. I can go up to next, which will go to the other side. I can go up to a surface. I can go offset from a surface. There's a lot of things I can do. Offset from a surface would have to be very helpful here. If I want to go close to the bottom, but not all the way through, like I want to have a 1/4 inch away from the bottom. And then once again, even if I change the height of this box for some strange reason later, that will still be a 1/4 inch. It won't cut through it. It'll always be nice. So there's a lot of things I can do here. Okay, there is a lot of things I can do here. And so with that, let's see, anything else to care about right now? Not really. Other things to think about are the selected contours. I only had one closed contour, so it said, oh, this is what you want to cut. I could have cut other things though, like in this case, I could click right here and say, instead of cutting the circle, cut everything but the circle. And also, since I'm drafting, this will be an absolutely crazy shape. Let's see how that looks. Okay. Sorry, when you're doing something randomly, like just doing it as you go, you can get some fun little options here. I'm going to change it back to how I had it before. I'm going to go offset from surface. I'm going to choose this bottom surface as my surface. And I'm going to make it 1/4 inch away from that. Now, when I do this, I'm removing material. And like I showed you before, selected contours will automatically choose any closed contour I have. If I don't want that, I can click on something else. If I don't want this particular shape, I would have to click on the things I do want and unselect this. Only one shape. This is obviously what I'm trying to cut. Click the checkbox. And there you go. Now you suddenly see that we have a hole in our little feature. It's really that simple. Now, I'm going to try to show you, though it will not necessarily work perfectly, I'm going to try to show you some errors that you might run into really quick with this. The first is that it doesn't like infinitely thin things. Now this is a harder one to get, so I might not be able to make it work. Every once in a while it'll do it for me, and sometimes it won't. So I'm going to sketch right here. And I'm going to take this point right here. I'm going to go all the way up to the top. I'm going to go most of the way over. And I'm going to bring it all the way back down. Okay, so I am cutting off most of the material, but not all of it. And to make it even worse, I'm going to drag it all the way over here. And I'm going to get rid of this coincidence. Actually, let's see. I got it right there. Okay. Now this might not work for me, but I'm going to go ahead and try to show it to you just in case it does. So I'm going to go to Extruded Cut. I'm going to go through all, and we're going to see if it gets angry at me. Through all. And, okay, this is one thing to think about. First off, when I did this, I cut this little tiny sliver away from this body right here. That sliver is no longer connected. And I can choose at that point, do I want to keep this body right here? Or do I want to keep this body right here? Or do I want to keep both? I'm going to say to keep all the bodies. Oh, it let me do it. Okay. Well, it's hard to recreate that. It just happens sometimes. But one thing you're going to run into is it does not like infinitely thin planes. If you're not careful on how you set up your relations or your dimensions, sometimes you will be telling SOLIDWORKS to create an infinitely thin plane and it will get angry at you. And sometimes that's just the algorithm messing up. Like you're not doing anything wrong. It's just like SOLIDWORKS having a bad day. So if you're doing something like this and it gets angry at you where you're saying that there shouldn't be an infinitely thin plane, I'm cutting all of it away. A lot of times it's actually better to overcut. So instead of going just to the edge, I can go way over. Like I'm going to try to delete that whole thing. Also, instead of going just to that point, I can go above it, okay? Now I'm completely covering that edge. I'm completely removing all of it. There is no question that everything's going to be removed. So that's one issue you can run into sometimes, though SOLIDWORKS is getting better and better at it, so that error comes up less and less. Either way, Extrude Cut is a whole lot like the Boss base. You're just now taking away material, and you can use it to make a lot of interesting shapes. So thank you for listening. I hope this helps you, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.